Live from ABC7, this is Eyewitness News at 7 p.m. on LA56.
A curfew is now in effect as Baltimore tries to recover from a night of violence, fires, and looting.
It's a video everyone's talking about, and tonight we are hearing from the mother who pulled her son from the riots on live TV.
And a tragic end to the search for a missing woman. Human remains found in a remote part of Orange County have been identified as those of the 28-year-old. Good evening. I'm Rutabash Shabazi in for Colleen Sullivan.
And I'm David Ona. This is Eyewitness News on LA56, LA's only live local newscast at 7 p.m. A curfew has just gone into effect a day after violence and riots in Baltimore. Now the city is attempting to clean up and brace for what's next. Here's a live look at what's going on right now. A helicopter shot, and as you can see, a number of people are violating that curfew, continuing to meet out in the streets of Baltimore. This curfew is supposed to go into effect at 10 p.m., which it is right now, 7 p.m. Pacific time, and go until 5 a.m. And every night for a week that curfew was being placed. But as you can see, some people are not abiding by the order. We're going to watch this situation, see what happens to them. In the meantime, here's the latest from Karen Travers.
Today in Baltimore, they're picking up the pieces.
Yesterday broke my heart. Today, I feel proud.
This West Side neighborhood was a scene of chaos overnight. Fires, looting, vehicles destroyed. Now residents here are coming together to clean up the broken glass and debris, trying to help local businesses get back on their feet.
I think this can be our defining moment and not the darkest days that we saw yesterday.
A crowd gathered near that burned-down CVS, an orderly demonstration.
Maryland Governor Larry Hogan walked through some of the hardest-hit areas and promised things will be different tonight.
Acts of violence and destruction of property cannot and will not be tolerated.
Strong words today from President Obama.
A handful of criminals and thugs who tore up the place.
He said what happened in Baltimore was not a protest.
When individuals get crowbars and start prying open doors to loot, they're not protesting.
Officials say overnight there were 144 vehicle fires, 15 structure fires, and nearly 250 arrests. In the last 24 hours, 1,700 National Guardsmen activated. Today, parts of Baltimore shut down. City schools and the National Aquarium closed. The Orioles canceled their second home game in a row. Karen Travers, ABC News, Baltimore.
And back here at home, a small group of protesters gathered near 7th and Figueroa Streets in downtown. A group called the Stop Mass Incarceration Network has said it's having a solidarity protest with demonstrators in Baltimore. And as you can see, there was a large police presence. Authorities say 12 people were cited.
Video from last night's riot showing a mother confronting her son has gone viral, and now it's resonating with many parents in Baltimore. ABC's Steve Osunsami spoke with the boy's family.
Here's the hard truth. Underneath the ski masks and hoodies of rioters who burned down their own neighborhoods are the faces of children.
Y'all keep coming and taking everything we've got. We're going to take what y'all got. We're not playing out here.
Confronted with so many saddening images, many black parents in particular are cheering this one. Toya Graham spotted her teenage son on live television throwing rocks at police. She immediately marched herself down to the street fight and dragged him home. She cares because she's seen bad things happen to children in her neighborhood before.
That was somebody's child, and it's real overwhelming.
It was her striking video that sent us out to the same neighborhood today, where we met parents who thanked this mother for her effort, reminding their own children to stay safe and respond smartly to police.
I always know where my kids are.
Sharna Randall says her two sons will not be going anywhere.
We do care for our young ones. We do care about our city and everyone that's not our blood-related children.
We are reminded that there are real issues for young black people here. High among them is the sense that policing is unfair.
That was Steve Osunsami reporting, and stay with Eyewitness News for continuing coverage of the Baltimore protests. For updates anytime, log on to our website, ABC7.com, and for real-time alerts, follow us on Facebook and Twitter at ABC7.
In Nigeria, nearly 300 girls and women have been rescued from Boko Haram camps. The raid by the Nigerian army came today in a forest in the northern part of the country. 200 girls and nearly 100 women were rescued. None are the schoolgirls who were abducted by Islamic militants more than a year ago, who are at the center of an international Bring Back Our Girls campaign. The women and girls are now being screened. Troops also destroyed 3 terrorist camps.
Authorities have preliminarily identified a decomposed body found in the Cleveland National Forest as that of Laguna Hills woman who's been missing for months. A group of biologists working for Caltrans discovered the body late last night in a remote area off Ortega Highway. 27-year-old Erica Alonzo disappeared on Valentine's Day after a date with her ex-boyfriend. Family members say they just didn't know what happened to her.
It is just a mystery. Everything is just not. We don't understand what happened. She had so many friends. She was just the happiest person at all times.
Authorities say there is no visible sign of trauma on the body, and they still need to compare fingerprints and dental records. The cause of the death is not known still at this point. An autopsy is scheduled for tomorrow.
Search is on in Huntington Beach for a hit-and-run driver. Video shows the suspect backing his sports car over a woman at a McDonald's parking lot, getting out to check on her, and then taking off. Eyewitness News Orange County reporter Greg Lee has the video.
Watch the top right-hand corner of your screen closely. This surveillance video from a McDonald's in Huntington Beach shows an elderly couple walking into the parking lot with their daughter. A dark gray Dodge Challenger drives past the family. As they cross the lot, the car speeds backwards and barrels into the 86-year-old woman. Her daughter runs to help while her husband yells at the driver. The female passenger immediately runs out to help. A few moments later, the male driver gets out, motions to the passenger. They get back into the car and speed off.
Not offer any kind of assistance or call for paramedics and knowingly leave the location, leaving them there on the ground is very disturbing.
Paramedics took the woman to the hospital and treated her for head injuries. She's since been released.
At this time, it's a felony hit and run. This isn't just a wall or a parked vehicle that was hit. This is somebody's life.
Now, officers hope these surveillance videos help them find the man behind the wheel. They're asking the public to be on the lookout for the car or the man and woman inside it, especially the driver.
The male is described as a male, white, possibly Asian, mid-20s, approximately 6 feet tall, medium build with short dark hair.
If you have any information on this crime, you're asked to call the Huntington Beach Police Department at 714-375-5066. 714-375-5066. Reporting in Huntington Beach, Greg Lee, ABC7, Eyewitness News.
The Supreme Court is hearing arguments today that could determine if same-sex marriages should be allowed nationally. Advocates and protesters of gay marriage demonstrated outside the High Court.
We really feel it's going to go in our favor.
We think it's important to keep marriage the way it is.
Justice Anthony Kennedy asked skeptical questions of both sides of the issue. Kennedy's vote could be the swing vote when the court makes its final decision. Currently, same-sex couples can legally marry in 36 states and Washington, D.C. A decision is expected in June.
President Obama welcomed Japan's Prime Minister Shinzo Abe to the White House today. The two are discussing a number of issues, including details of a 12-nation trade deal that opens up markets around the Pacific Rim to U.S. exports. President Obama says with so many Japanese cars in America, he'd like to see more American cars in Japan. During a news conference today, he also highlighted the great alliance and friendship the U.S. and Japan have built.
Today is also a chance for Americans, especially our young people, to say thank you for all the things we love from Japan, like karate and karaoke, manga and anime. And, of course, emojis.
Not bad. The White House is also hosting Prime Minister Abe and his wife at a state dinner. About 300 guests are on the invitation list. Decorations will focus on cherry blossoms, which have been in bloom this month around Washington, D.C. The cherry trees were a gift from Japan. to the U.S. in 1912, and Prime Minister Abe visits Los Angeles this Friday.
Firefighters are putting the finishing touches on a small fire in Eagle Rock. Air 7 HD was over the scene minutes ago. This was along Townsend Avenue, the fire burning along a ridge. No structures were threatened. About 2 acres burned before LA City fire crews knocked down the flames.
All right, let's talk about our weather. Obviously, it is hot outside, a lot
Very
of sunshine. Jonathan Novak tells us how long the heat's going to last.
Yeah, David, you got the heat. You have the really low humidity levels. Thankfully, the winds aren't terrible, and that is helpful in terms of any wildfire danger. We just saw that one being knocked down, thankfully. Temperatures, though, wow. 95 was our high in Fillmore, Yorba Linda, Riverside. That, not records, but that is way above average. Big Bear hit 68, data point 76. Right now in Big Bear, we're looking at 61, very light winds. Humidity's at 16% in Riverside. 82 is your current temperature. We just dropped below 80 in downtown, so it's a warm evening ahead. Checking out the other numbers around Southern California. 87 in Burbank and Santa Clarita. That is your current temperature. Normally we're in the 70s for high temperatures, and we've only cooled into the upper 80s. So temperatures like this are going to remain for at least a little while before we start seeing a cool down heading in later in the forecast. I will detail when that happens and how cool we will actually get coming up in that 7 day.
All right, Jonathan, thank you. A heartbreaking situation continues to unfold in earthquake-devastated Nepal. Heavy rain is making it difficult to search for the rubble for more victims as bring relief in supplies. The death toll from last weekend's 7.8 earthquake has climbed to 4,600. UN officials say they expect the number to reach 10,000. This surveillance video shows the moment the quake hit, with terrified people rushing to get out of the building. We also have some dramatic aerial video taken by a mounted camera on a drone, and we're hearing from a 20-year-old mountain climber who survived the avalanche on Mount Everest.
I thought about that is my last minute of life. I thought I will die now.
That avalanche happened at 20,000 feet. The young climber was thrown 300 feet by the rush of snow and ice, but he is okay. And ABC7 is teaming up with the American Red Cross to help the victims of the earthquake in Nepal. Tomorrow, we're setting up a phone bank to make it easy for you to call in and make a donation. We'll be taking donations from 4:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. And if you want to donate now, you can mail a check to ABC7 Nepal Disaster Relief Fund, P.O. Box 5967, Glendale, California 91221. Make your checks out to Red Cross Nepal Relief. You can also find the information on ABC7.com.
Up next, it's everyone's nightmare on a busy freeway. Your car breaks down and another driver is not paying attention. Tonight, you'll hear the collision and wonder, how did everyone survive?
Plus, the California man learns firsthand the dangers of getting too close to a sea lion. Find out what happened next.
And it's not for the faint of heart. A local former insane asylum is now a museum, and what we've uncovered inside. Let's take you back to the streets of Baltimore. A live picture from overhead, and there you see protesters out on the streets. What makes this significant is a curfew is in place. The mayor put a 7-day curfew in place starting at 10 p.m. going through 5 a.m. It is now 10:15. As you can see, the folks are gathered in the middle of that street. There's a line of riot police at the very top of your screen. The mayor says 2,000 guardsmen and 1,000 law enforcement officers will be on patrol tonight through the night to make sure this and everything else remains peaceful. We're continuing to watch the situation. No violence here so far, but we're going to continue to watch it. Oh, we're going to stay with us just for a second. When we're seeing the police now moving in, they are moving in, pushing the crowd. Rudy Bay, it's tough to see the details, but it does look like they definitely have some intention of moving this crowd. I'm not sure if it's telling them to disperse, because clearly this is some violation of the curfew. Yeah, they were all supposed to be home by now, not out on the streets except to go to work and in case of an emergency or any kind of health situation. But you can see that they do have, it looks like riot gear and shields, and they are moving the crowd back. So far I haven't seen anyone in the crowd throwing anything or any kind of violence. Right. But you never know. It's a tense situation. We should point out that today was a much more peaceful day than yesterday was. So we are hoping for the best tonight in Baltimore. Hopefully folks will be able to abide by the curfew for the most part, and this will end peacefully, but we'll keep you posted. All right. In other news now, a first-hand look at the dangers of distracted driving. The driver of an SUV in Houston, exhausted on the phone, heading right for the family of 7, stopped in the breakdown lane. ABC's Candace Gibson with the life-saving phone call and the narrow escape.
Watch and listen as a potential tragedy develops on a Houston highway.
Call 911. Vehicle traveling eastbound through Southwest Plaza.
Emergency operator Alexa Barrick got the call early Sunday morning. A driver swerving in and out of lanes, heading right toward a family of 7 with a broken down vehicle in the shoulder. Dispatchers spot the driver on one of the dozens of traffic cameras that dot the highway. With that car getting closer and closer, another dispatcher springs into action, radioing the tow truck operator who's been out helping that family.
Be advised, sir, it's a vehicle approaching you that is swerving all over the lane, sir. He is about to get on his shoulder.
The tow truck driver pushes the family into the vehicle. Seconds later...
Oh my God. Call 911.
Watch again this narrow escape for the family, and the tow truck driver, pinned against the highway wall, miraculously escapes injury. Tonight, that family meeting their team of heroes for the first time, saying thanks for saving their lives. Candace Gibson, ABC News, Houston.
All right, well, Jonathan Novak joining us now. It's been kind of a mini heat wave almost.
95 in many places today. I mean, it's just absurdly hot. Not even records, if you can believe that. It felt like record heat, did it? Not.
Oh, yeah. It was brutal outside.
Yeah. Brutal, I like that word. I'm going to use that one. It was brutal outside. I just took it.
If you say it in the sun, it was.
Okay. Hot temperatures ahead for tomorrow and even the next day. If you're looking for a cool down, can you wait a few days? No? Okay, well, I don't know what to tell you. Stay inside then, David. 92 is our high today in downtown L.A. Normally, we are at 74. Yeah, almost 20 degrees above the average for the high temperature. The low is 61, so we didn't jump that far up from what the normal low would be in the mid-50s. But morning time still nice and pleasant. Laguna Beach is a live image. And that might be a good spot if you can head out there tomorrow if you get a chance to do so. That is a place to be. It is 66 right now at the coast. Now, the beach area, if you're at the beach, you probably felt about the same as you did yesterday. The temperatures really didn't warm up that much. It was the inland spots that increased 10, 15 degrees over yesterday's highs in some locations. 87 right now in Burbank. Look at some of the numbers around Southern California that pretty much fall right in line with that in the inland spots. 84 Ontario, 87 Santa Clarita. Head over to Palm Springs, 93 for you guys. And at the coast, again, temperatures have been pretty much mitigated here over the last 24 hours with that, I'd say, shallow sea breeze here. We got about a degree cooler, in fact, compared to this time last night at the coast. But you head inland, and you were 12 degrees warmer than you were this time yesterday in Burbank. About 5 degrees warmer other spots inland than it was this time yesterday. So the heat is definitely on, folks, and it's high pressure that's our weather maker. If you can make this out here, you see this the area of clouds here that basically arc right over us. That's that ridge of high pressure that is just stagnating over our area, and that will stay here for another couple of days before finally the weekend hits. Look at the future scan. This is going to show you the atmospheric patterns, where the energy is, and as we go through Thursday, we finally see this trough that moves into the western portion of the country, pushes that high pressure off to the east, and that's going to help to give us more of that onshore flow. And that, as you know, that comes off the ocean, that cools us down, brings some cloud cover as well. Until then, until the weekend, until Friday, really, you've got to contend with some heat and stay inside, David. We can get you some nice AC set up in your in the office and everything. I'll make a call for you. Okay? Yeah? All right, Ken, go ahead. 94 tomorrow in Lake Elsinore, 95 Riverside. I have no power to do that, so we'll see, see what I can do. 7-day forecast for LA Metro and Orange County, powered up by AccuWeather. 85 in LA tomorrow to 88 for a high in the LA area. 83 on Thursday. We're still in the 80s on Friday. It's not until the weekend that we will finally see things drop down closer to average. Valley's IE, wow, hot for 3 days, 90s, and then the weekend is warm. Still above average, but not the 90s at least. The beach looks nice. It's pretty much steady as she goes for a few days in the 70s. You're getting back into the 60s by the weekend, so morning clouds ahead for you. The mountain is just unbelievably mild. And the 68 is well above average for you as well for the next 2 days. And the high desert, you've got 2 days in the 90s and about that on Friday. Wait till the weekend if you don't like the heat. Otherwise, you're looking good in the next few days if you like the heat. Back to you.
All right, Jonathan, thank you. Make a call to the weather gods. A local psychiatric hospital will soon open a museum that will highlight more than 100 years of treatment. Patton State Hospital treats nearly 1,500 patients, the majority of them under criminal court orders. As Eyewitness News Inland Empire reporter Leticia Juarez shows us, the museum will feature dozens of artifacts, some of them controversial.
From the outside, Patton State Hospital in San Bernardino is shrouded in mystery, a place the public knows very little about. But soon a museum will give outsiders a peek inside the hospital, once known as the Highland Insane Asylum.
I was kind of naturally curious about, the hospital, walking the ground, seeing these old buildings, and sort of wondered about the stories about Patton.
Anthony Ortega is a clinical social worker at Patton and came up with the idea for the museum. The museum has more than 140 artifacts, including some very controversial items, like this transorbital lobotomy pick, an instrument used on 230 patients at the hospital before it was discontinued.
They're pretty rare now. They're hard to find. You can imagine because of how controversial the treatment was.
Visitors will also find shock therapy machines, hydrotherapy tubs, early surgical instruments, and photographs like this one of the original building before it was demolished. Each item helping to examine the hospital's 122-year history of psychiatry and treatment of mental illnesses.
And that's part of why we did this museum, is to show the folks how the evolution and the changes in psychiatry have gone over the years.
At its peak, Patton's patient population grew to more than 5,000. This exhibit reveals how the patients and staff worked together to create a community.
They grew all their food, they made all their furniture, and they made all their clothing.
The museum now offering a small glimpse into the hospital's long history.
This is maybe a fifth of what we actually still have.
There is no museum like this one in California. They'll begin offering tours beginning in June. Reporting from Patton State Hospital, Leticia Juarez, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
All right, quickly, we want to take you to some breaking news going right now on the streets of Baltimore. We're watching things escalate between that crowd of protesters and the police line. These are live pictures coming to you. We just saw a number of canisters exploding and all this gas. We're assuming it's tear gas, but this was just happening for about 15 seconds ago.
Yeah, and you could see even something that looked like it was on fire being thrown from the protester side into the police line, too.
Right, so there was some back and forth. Clearly, things have escalated. Things are getting violent. We did, as Rudabeh said, see some throwing. Before that, though, Rudabeh, it did seem like things were generally peaceful, people just kind of hanging out. We haven't seen looting. We haven't seen cars on fire or buildings on fire or a whole lot of things being thrown. But clearly, things are on the rise. Tensions are on the rise. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come right back and give you more.
Welcome back. We are taking you live now to Baltimore, Maryland. This is a live picture from the streets. Protesters are out in full force. There's also authorities. They might be police, National Guard, we don't know. They have riot gear and shields out. And earlier we saw gas, looked like tear gas being thrown. We also saw some objects that looked like they were on fire being thrown from the protester side. Now looks like they're walking down some side streets, the protesters. We did see them earlier dumping over garbage cans. So far we haven't seen violence right now, but none of them are allowed to be there. There is an effect. They're not supposed to be there, a curfew right now. So we are monitoring this situation, and a lot of action so far here just tonight.
And we're going to turn some video for you. We're going to take a quick break. Dramatic video of the tear gas canisters hitting the crowd. We're going to bring that to you and give you the latest when we come back.
Live from ABC7, this is Eyewitness News at 7:30 p.m. on LA56.
Our top story at 7:30, a curfew is in effect right now after a night of violence, fires, and looting in Baltimore, Maryland. I'm Rudabeh Shabazi in for Colleen Sullivan.
And I'm David Ona. This is Eyewitness News at LA56, LA's only live local newscast at 7:30 p.m. And here's a live look at what's going on right now. There are hundreds of people still on the streets near a CVS pharmacy that was looted yesterday. We became very familiar with that area. As a helicopter that's out there is moving around, you'll eventually start seeing a large police line, and we're still seeing hundreds of protesters out on the streets right now. Some of the information that we are getting is some of the protesters started throwing bottles at police. Police responded by moving their line in and then firing tear gas. We are going to roll some videotape of that happening. This is what happened just a few minutes ago. First of all, the police line moved in, then the tear gas started going, the crowd started moving back. This, from what we understand, for the crowd throwing bottles on the police line. And keep in mind, a curfew is in effect. All these people were supposed to be in their homes as of 10 p.m. Eastern Time from 10 p.m. till 5 a.m. And that's supposed to happen for a solid week. We're also getting word that there's a helicopter flying over the crowd that's saying you must go home. You cannot remain here. You will be subject to arrest. You must go home. That from a helicopter overhead. The media is being told that they can stay on the streets. Everybody else is supposed to get off the streets. Again, this is videotape from just a few minutes ago. You can see the massive amount of tear gas that's hitting that crowd. We watched this crowd then start to disperse. Some people running down various streets, not necessarily going home, but that did make the crowd disperse. And again, a huge police showing out there right now. 1,000 police officers are on the streets and 2,000 National Guardsmen said to be on the streets. We're getting confirmation that this line are police officers on the streets that are firing this tear gas. So things are heating up in Baltimore. The curfew, we're hoping, and the authorities were hoping, was going to calm things down. This is just one small part of a city of 80 square miles. So don't judge the whole city, but we're going to continue to watch these situations and see how things progress in the city of Baltimore.
All right, and in the meantime, members of the Los Angeles Police Department are keeping a close eye on the events in Baltimore and here at home. As they keep watch, there's been a significant decision about bringing body cameras to the LAPD. Eyewitness News reporter Robert Olguin has details, and he tells us why not everyone is pleased with this new development.
They are touted as a way to promote transparency. Body-worn cameras that record interactions between police and the public.
Report is approved.
Today, the Los Angeles Police Commission approved the department's policy for the use of body cameras. It sets the stage for cameras to be used throughout the department.
I think it's a good policy. We'll review it after the cameras are rolled out. If it needs to be adjusted, we can make adjustments.
But some civil libertarians and at least one member of the Police Commission say the department's policy is flawed.
My frustration is I would prefer that we had the opportunity for at least one public hearing where before we reach final agreement.
Commissioner Robert Saltzman was the only one who voted against the policy.
The department shouldn't be deploying body-worn video under this policy.
Peter Biebring is an attorney with the ACLU. The civil rights group objects to the provision that allows officers to review footage before writing their reports.
Giving officers an opportunity who are inclined to lie to do so in a way that conforms to video.
But the LAPD says officers would be prevented from reviewing the video in certain use of force investigations.
If they commit misconduct, if they have an out-of-policy use of force, the video will show that.
The policy also prohibits the body camera video from being released to the public.
That hardly serves the transparency that these body-worn video cameras could provide.
The use of body cameras has taken on added urgency over the past year in the wake of several controversial arrests and police shootings. Most recently, the unrest in Baltimore resulted in a blue alert here in Los Angeles. The LAPD ordered officers to ride in pairs after receiving credible threats that gangs were working together to target officers.
Given the tenor in the national scheme, I think it's a wise thing to do right now.
The LAPD says it has 870 of the cameras on hand and that they may start rolling them out as early as this summer. Mayor Eric Garcetti has pledged to buy 7,000 cameras by the end of the year. Reporting from downtown LA, Robert Olguin, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
The yellow fever mosquito is invading Orange County. The black and white striped mosquito has been spotted in Anaheim. A resident called vector control officials last week after suffering from numerous bites. The species can transmit various serious diseases, including yellow fever, dengue fever, and chikungunya. Vector control teams are prepared for an invasion. They're using traps especially designed to collect yellow fever mosquitoes that can only spread disease if they bite someone infected with the virus.
Governor Jerry Brown wants to increase the fine for wasting water to $10,000. It's an effort to get people to be serious about conserving water in this drought. Eyewitness News reporter Alex Michelson has more on the governor's proposal and reaction to it.
California Governor Jerry Brown announces new legislation that would increase the maximum fines for residents and businesses who waste the most water. The current fine rate, $500 a day. Brown wants $10,000 a day.
I don't like to increase penalties too much, but they have to be appropriate. And I think this is what we're finding that we needed some more, and that's what we're doing.
The governor also wants to give local water providers and local governments more authority to collect those fines.
It's a big state. That's why I like subsidiarity. You can't run everything out of Sacramento.
These new fines would add new teeth to the governor's April 1st announcement mandating a 25% water cut statewide.
We're in an historic drought, and that demands unprecedented action.
Most we talk with think the drought is serious enough that increased fines are a good idea.
Let's do it. Let's fine them.
People should be fined, because $500, people will be like, oh, you know what, I'll just pay $500.
There needs to be some accountability so people can start being more responsible.
I talked to a spokesperson from the LADWP who said that their strategy is to educate first and fine later. She said that they get thousands of calls of people who say that their neighbors are wasting water, but what they will do is go out and notify them and give them examples of ways to fix that. And she says that it works, that in total, over a year and a half, they've only actually had to fine 10 people. Reporting from Burbank, Alex Michelson, ABC7, Eyewitness News.
Tonight, police are hoping the promise of a reward will lead to whoever shot and killed a man in Palms, one of 3 shootings in the past 2 weeks. 33-year-old Christopher Paul was killed last Thursday afternoon in the alley of his apartment building. Investigators say they know of no motive for the shooting. It occurred a week after a series of shootings in the same area, including gunfire in a park that left one man dead and another wounded.
People are more cautious to bring their kids here to play. But one thing I can say is it's not a normal occurrence in this area. But for that to happen, it's very scary.
We are doing enhanced deployment in the area to ensure that in addition to the investigations, we are deploying visible resources and being very proactive there.
Today, the City Council offered a $50,000 reward for information leading to the arrest and conviction of Paul's killer. Anyone with information on the case is urged to call Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-TIP.
Shocking story involving a Rancho Cucamonga couple. He's paraplegic and uses a wheelchair. Tomorrow, he'll be in court facing charges of shooting the woman and holding her captive in their apartment for nearly a month along with their young son. Eyewitness News Inland Empire reporter Leticia Waters has details from Rancho Cucamonga.
For 26 days, no one knew that inside this apartment, a woman was being held against her will. Rancho Cucamonga police say the victim, so in fear for her life, she did not even seek help for a gunshot wound.
Shocking that she couldn't even tell anyone, and because there was always so many people around here and she never said anything.
On Monday, sheriff's deputies moved in using a remote control robot to locate and arrest 37-year-old Michael Venegas. Investigators say back on April 1st, Venegas shot the victim through the shoulder with a 9mm following an argument. They say he then refused to get her medical help.
She felt he left her for dead. And then he came back in and she wasn't dead, and so then she asked him to move over to their bedroom, and then he helped her with her wound at that point.
Venegas' car is still parked in the handicap space outside the couple's apartment. Neighbors say the suspect was in a wheelchair and would often see the victim helping him load the chair into his car.
He was just by himself, to himself, never, looked up and says hi or anything,
The man he would never talk to me, nothing. He would always just glare at you. Even everybody says that he would never say anything to us. He would just glare.
The victim managed to escape on Monday by calling a relative to come and pick her and her son up. Neighbors say they are still in shock.
Just goes to show that people either bury their heads in the sand or just don't want to get involved.
Authorities tell us that the victim has since been discharged from the hospital and she is staying with family along with her 7-year-old son. As for Venegas, he is due in court tomorrow. He'll be arraigned on charges of attempted murder, false imprisonment, and kidnapping. Reporting from Rancho Cucamonga, Leticia Waters, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
Well, another tense night in Baltimore.
Right now, law enforcement in Baltimore is squaring off with protesters. An update when we come back. Welcome back. We're taking you back live overhead. This is Baltimore, Maryland, where hundreds of people have ignored the curfew right now and are out on the streets, and you see a large law enforcement presence as well. You see them forming a line there. Earlier, they were throwing tear gas. There is a helicopter overhead telling the protesters they are subject to arrest if they don't go home. They are not allowed to be out in the street. We saw them throwing bottles earlier at law enforcement. We know about 2,000 National Guardsmen are there and about 1,000 police officers out on the street. It was getting a little bit hectic earlier. It looks like it's been a little bit more contained. That tear gas did help disperse the protesters, those demonstrators who were getting out of control. They went along the side streets and the crowd did disperse a little bit. And you can see that they do have heavy vehicles out there and a big line of law enforcement keeping them back.
And we showed you some videotape earlier of some tear gas. We have some new video of tear gas being thrown. This is in a different area and from the ground. There you see the canisters hitting. This coming from police because apparently the crowd was starting to get unruly. They started throwing things. You see the canisters exploding and then the thick gas starting to hit the streets. It is effective so far in dispersing the crowd and getting people to at least move and not congregate all in one spot. Whether they're going home or not, we just don't know. There you see the backs of the police officers as they're watching the gas. Huge showing of the police, 1,000 officers on the streets and 2,000 National Guardsmen. So this is a situation we're going to continue to watch. We're wondering if it's going to escalate or maybe this tear gas will be effective in getting people to finally go home. But nevertheless, things still happening on the streets of Baltimore. Here at home, big changes coming in our weather. Meteorologist Jonathan Novak has his complete forecast coming up next.
Plus, the Baltimore Orioles make an odd scheduling decision because of the ongoing demonstrations. What they chose to do coming up in sports. A San Diego fisherman is sharing his terrifying story after being viciously attacked by a sea lion. Dan Carlin and his wife Trish were on their boat in Mission Bay Channel. They say the sea lion appeared out of nowhere as Dan held a fish he caught. He was smiling for a photo. The picture captures the moment the sea lion clamped down on the fish and on Carlin's hand. The sea lion dragged him underwater.
It was terrifying. When the sea lion took me down and I was going down at that rate of speed, at that point, I knew that I was going to die.
After struggling for about 20 seconds, Carlin says he managed to break free and swim to the surface, but when he got there, the sea lion also bit his foot. That's
wow.
So scary.
Such an aggressive animal.
It's so cute.
I know.
Turn the tables on you.
Those pups are so cute when you see those videos of the little pups.
But then you gotta watch out.
Powerful too. All right, let's. Today would have been a good day to hit the beach, get into the water. It was so hot.
Yeah, tomorrow too. Any day for me would be good to get to the beach. It's necessary. I need to get it. I need some color here. Wow. Tomorrow will be another hot day. Temperatures once again expected to be in the 90s. Today we hit 95. Check this out. Some of the numbers from today. Fillmore, Yorba Linda, Riverside. Your highs, 95. Mid-70s, Dana Point. Big Bear hit 68. I mean, that is just uncomfortably hot. The coast, as you'll see here, has been pretty consistent here compared to yesterday and will be tomorrow. You have the sea breezes keeping things a little bit cooler. But for the inland spots, it's just not happening. 66 right now at the airports. 87 in Santa Clarita, your current temperature. That's right now. 84 in Ontario. And we're still in the 90s in Palm Springs. 82 Fullerton. Edwards, 85. Wow. High pressure is our weather maker. It's right over us pretty much. And it's going to continue to be there, slowly pushing to the east over the next 48 hours or so. As that happens, we'll start to get more of an onshore push. Eventually, the weekend will hit, and the inland spots will see some of that cool down. Until then, more of the same, just hot weather. You see that red area over the southwest U.S. right over us. That's the hottest spot as we look here on the west coast. So the future scan shows you that ridge that's what is right here, this arc. This is Wednesday. Watch how it's still right there on Thursday. Starting to budge to the east, though, Thursday into Friday, as this trough will nudge it off away from us, and that's going to keep that onshore flow in the forecast toward the weekend. That means we have that flow coming in off the ocean, and that's going to bring the clouds in a little bit, at least, and bring the temperatures down. And if you're looking for a cool down, that's what you want, of course, and that's in Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Until then, you got hot stuff, 85 to 88 in LA tomorrow, 93 or so in Anaheim. See about 95 in the IE, Mission Viejo, 91, 99 Palm Springs. Get the water out, keep it around for a couple of days, stay cool as best you can. 7-day forecast for LA Metro and Orange County, powered up by AccuWeather. Sun, 80s. That's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday forecast. The weekend comes around, and we have some morning fog potentially, 75 to 73. It's actually just above average on Saturday. We're cooling down quite a bit, but still over the normals. Finally into the 60s next Monday. It'll actually start feeling a little bit cooler. The Valley's IE, you have 2 more days in the lower to mid-90s, lower 90s on Friday, and then you will drop off to the lower 80s on Saturday. Still warm, though, and some fog possible for the weekend. The beach looks nice. Temperatures aren't going to be excessively hot. You guys will be sort of moderated right there in the lower 70s for a few days into the 60s for the weekend. The mountains is just a nice forecast for you. Otherwise, you got Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, sunny skies, 60s, and then lower 60s as you head into Sunday, Monday, and then the high desert, 90 for a couple of days before you cool off into the 80s from Friday on into the weekend. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Jonathan.
You're welcome.
Clippers and Spurs are underway in a huge Game 5 at Staples Center. A win by the Clips gives them momentum and a 2-game win streak going into Saturday's Game 6, while a loss gives the defending champs a chance to close out at home. We'll have your highlights and post-game on Eyewitness News at 11 p.m. on ABC7. In the Eastern Conference, yesterday's bad news for the Cleveland Cavaliers is even worse today. The Cavs were hoping Kevin Love's shoulder injury might only keep him out of only 2 weeks. Well, now team officials are saying the injury is so severe it's almost certain that he won't play again until next season. And whether former UCLA star will be playing then is up in the air. Today, LeBron James touched on the play in question.
It sucks. I mean, for our team and for him more than anything. This is the moment he's been waiting for, and for a freak injury like that to happen on a freak play. I feel bad for him. And our team has to rally. We got to pick each other up and figure out a way to get it done.
Elsewhere around Major League Baseball, the Baltimore Orioles have postponed their second straight home game today due to the ongoing riots and demonstrations in the Baltimore area. O's officials made the decision after talking with city leaders in the Major League Baseball offices. The games will be made up in a May 28th doubleheader. The team also announced tomorrow's series finale against Chicago will be closed to the public and played inside in empty Camden Yards. And former Dodger Kirk Gibson is battling Parkinson's disease. The 1988 National League MVP made the announcement in Detroit, where he now calls Tigers games. And Gibson's played 12 of his 17 Major League seasons in Detroit, winning a championship in 1984. Dodgers fans remember Gibson for his pinch hit home run in Game 1 of the 1988 World Series. Today, the Detroit Tigers issued a statement saying that they are hopeful for Gibson's return to the ballpark soon. Floyd Mayweather Jr. and Manny Pacquiao made their way to Las Vegas days before the fight of the century. Both were part of two separate rallies to support both boxers. Although many won't be able to get into the MGM Grand this Saturday, they got to see both fighters days before the two step into the ring together. Mayweather is currently the favorite in the highly anticipated fight. And you know who will be there on Saturday? Ralph Fukuzaki. He'll be there, and he'll be reporting live from Las Vegas beginning on Thursday with previews of the fight of the century. Don't worry, boxing fans. Saturday is only 4 days away.
People can't wait for that. Well, angry protesters and police both are back on the streets of Baltimore. An update next.
And ahead tonight at Eyewitness News at 11 o'clock in ABC7, actor Paul Walker's legacy lives on. His non-profit organization is sending his brother and a group of local firefighters to Nepal to help with the relief efforts there. We are with them as they get ready to go to the earthquake-ravaged area.
Plus, why is this car banned from toll lanes? The $27,000 mistake. All these stories and the late-breaking news on Southern California's #1 late newscast, Eyewitness News at 11 on ABC7.
All right, quickly want to take you back to Baltimore. There is that intersection that seems to have quieted down, but a huge police presence. We want to show you some videotape from this very spot just about a half an hour ago, where you see what we believe are now smoke grenades, and there are also reports of pepper balls being fired at the protesters. They quickly dispersed, but dramatic video here. So things were really escalating in the streets of Baltimore. We're going to continue to follow it. We'll give you the very latest of what's going on out there on Eyewitness News at 11 o'clock.
Thanks for joining us for Eyewitness News at 7:30 on LA56. We'll see you at 11.
This is ABC7 weather.
Hey everybody, Jonathan Novak here. We have high pressure still in control. Going to keep us very warm again today. Let's call it hot. Mid-90s in the inland spots. The coast is going to stay pretty similar to yesterday with a little bit of a sea breeze pushing in. High pressure will hang out for a few days. Check it out on the future scan. You'll